What is up, YouTube? I'm Gaudet74 here, bringing you our Week 3 battle of the IBA. This week we take on Diet Tight, coach of the New Britain Rockruff. We are going into this game with an 0-2 record, while he is going into this game with a 1-1 record. We have had an unfortunate 2 losses to start off our season, but hopefully we can bounce back in this game. It's not really going to help because A, Di did win his last game +4 with a pretty dominating fashion, so that sucks. And 2, Di's team post-draft was ranked number 1 in the league. Now, that's just his team on paper, but in my opinion, he pretty much does have the best team in the league. There's a lot of really good things about it, as I'm going to break down in a few seconds. I would rank his team about like a 9.7, 9.8 out of 10. The only critique I could possibly add is that he has a pretty big ground weakness that isn't fully patched up, but you guys wouldn't know that because I haven't set the team yet. I'm going to go and list off Diet Tight's team now. His team consists of Mega Charizard X, Tapu Koko Z-Moves, Necrozma, Hawlucha, Decidueye, Empoleon, Porygon 2, Piloswine, Drapion, Lycanroc Deo Z-Moves, and Claydol. You see Tapu Koko, Hawlucha, Mega Charizard X, and Necrozma. That offensively is just insane. All 4 of those combined is really hard to switch into, especially Tapu Koko and Hawlucha. My Hawlucha switching doesn't exist. Hawlucha, if I have a Alomomola coming this week, and if that thing gets a little bit weakened down, Hawlucha comes in, clicks Swords Dance, and clicks 6 buttons. And that's definitely how I could see this game possibly going. Stopping that Hawlucha is going to be extremely hard. Tapu Koko is pretty hard if it has the right coverage for my certain mons. And while Charizard and Necrozma itself aren't too hard to deal with 1v1, these could weaken down my defensive walls so Hawlucha can just sweep my team. So again, all 4 of those are completely hard, as well as his defense is pretty good. However, my defense that I am bringing this week actually pretty much beats his defense, but again, I'm relying on my defense to beat up a lot of his offensive mons as well. So not only do I have to rely on them for his offensive mons, but also his defensive mons. And not my entire team is defensive. But that is mainly the way I'm going to win this game this week. I have my offensive mons to pivot around and catch some switch-ins. If I can knock out something, I can just knock out something with offense. And I do have one offensive mon that is going to try and break his team, but I'll get into that in a second. But again, his team is very busted, to say the least. It's really good. But anyway, my team I am bringing this week consists of Alomomola, Kommo-o, Gligar, Mega Gardevoir, Snorlax, and Zoroark. So the first mon I am bringing this week, as I just mentioned, is Alomomola. Alomomola is rocking the Rocky Helmet with the Regenerator ability, max HP, 212 defense with an Impish Nature, 52 in attack, moves being Liquidation, Toxic, Wish, and Protect. This is the first time this season we are bringing Alomomola. There was no mon on his team that could set up on Alomomola and make it setup fodder without Alomomola dealing with it. Like Charizard X and Hawlucha could set up on it, but I have Toxic and Liquidation and Wish Protect and Rocky Helmet to deal with all that stuff. So those 2 aren't big problems. Necrozma, I have a free switch into Snorlax, as I'll get into in a bit. And Tapu Koko is not going to be a setup set, because Tapu Koko really needs all the 4 coverage moves in order to hit my team effectively, or something's going to wall it guaranteed. And nothing else on his team really sets up unless it's kind of a gimmick. Like Decidueye could set up like with Swords Dance, but that's just something else. And Drapion could as well. But I'm not really too scared of them as much as his top mons. But again, Alomomola is my main switch-in to Hawlucha because I can tank any 2 high jump kicks even after the Unburden boost. Though I do have to be careful. If I am chipped down a bit, then I can't because I have to be at pretty high health in order to do that. One thing that is a little bit scary for the set is going to be Hawlucha with the Unburden activated behind a sub, because Liquidation doesn't break a sub behind with the defense boost. It breaks a sub without the defense boost, but not with it. So that's something I definitely have to be a little bit wary about. But if he wants to run a subset, then he's either going to lack high jump kick or reliable recovery and roost. So there's that. And if he doesn't have Swords Dance, then it's not a problem whatsoever. But he is going to have Swords Dance, let's be real. But that's mainly Alomomola's job. It also walls the Piloswine to an extent as well. I can take an Earthquake, maybe Liquidation it back, and then switch out, get regen back. It's not really a big deal. That's mainly Alomomola's job for the week. Next up we have Kommo-o. Kommo-o is rocking the Salac Berry with the Bulletproof ability, max attack, 212 speed with the Jolly Nature, and 44 in HP. Moves being Belly Drum, Substitute, Drain Punch, and Shadow Claw. This Kommo-o is very important this week. This breaks down his Empoleon, Porygon 2, and Lycanroc. I don't expect Lycanroc to come, but it could, but I don't think it will. Porygon 2 is probably coming, and Empoleon's probably going to come. So I could set up a sub on either Empoleon or P2, get up a Belly Drum, get my Salac Berry propped, and Drain Punch nukes almost everything on his team. The only things it doesn't nuke is Tapu Koko, Necrozma, and Hawlucha. But I have Shadow Claw, which OHKOs Necrozma at +6. Tapu Koko, it OHKOs at +6. And even though Hawlucha only survives it if its Unburden is activated, and if I can force that Hawlucha's Unburden to be activated very early and chip it down with Shadow Claw, switch out into Alomomola, and if I trade 1v1 there, that's a win for me. Because once Hawlucha's out of this game, then I think I have a really good shot at actually winning the game, believe it or not. And again, at +6, I just nuke everything on his team. And I really feel confident being able to get up a sub and belly drum on his team because he's going to need his Porygon 2 and Empoleon. So that's something I'm very I hope this really works. This is going to be a hit or miss set. If it misses, then it's going to really suck. But if it hits, it's going to work out very well. And that is our main offensive breaker of the week. Next up, we got Gligar. Gligar is holding the Eviolite with the max HP, max defense with Impish Nature, well, almost max, and a little bit of Speed Def, a little bit. Moves being Earthquake, Acrobatics, Toxic, and Roost. I originally had Curse on this set, but Showdown, or the Zombie was genning my team, and there was a problem apparently with like Curse and Immunity. I'm not exactly sure what the problem is still because I was looking into it a little bit earlier, and it said like I could possibly make that illegal set. I don't know. It was a whole thing. It said it was illegal. I changed Curse to Toxic. It's not that big of a deal. But this is another way to deal with Hawlucha. If Alomomola is down, it's not the most reliable, but it's somewhat reliable to an extent. I can at least chip it a little bit with Acrobatics. If the Unburden's not activated, I'm doing a nice clean 43%. So that's pretty cool. It also walls Charizard to an extent. And this is mainly here for Tapu Koko because the only Tapu Koko set that beats this is one with HP Ice. And if he's got HP Ice, again, I could expect it, but then Snorlax comes in and sort of walls it as well. So that's pretty cool. And lastly, it deals with the Lycanroc Day as well. So that's pretty cool. Sorry, people are being very loud in my house right now. But that is the Hawlucha set. I realize we are 7 minutes into the team builder, so I'm going to try and speed this up. Next up, we have Mega Gardevoir. Gardevoir is holding the Gardevoirite with the ability Trace, max HP, 36 attack, and 220 in speed with a Timid Nature. Moves being Calm Mind, Substitute, Hyper Voice, and Thunderbolt. Hyper Voice is pretty spammable against this team, except for Empoleon and P2. But I can use the P2 as setup fodder for sub Calm Mind gimmicks, and I have T-Bolt for the Empoleon. Obviously, I would need a few boosts to beat through Empoleon, but knowing the way Empoleon is usually played, it's always usually chipped down by the point where I would want to use Mega Gardevoir. So it's definitely not that big of a deal. This blows back through Drapion. Hawlucha's never a switch in. Tapu Koko's not a switch in. Charizard could probably live one, but it's not going to want to take a second one. A bulky Necrozma could probably take two, especially... Well, it can take two since I'm not fully invested in the special attack, but I expect P2 or Empoleon to be the main switch into this Mon. And again, I could use P2 as setup fodder, and if Empoleon wants to come out, I can take advantage of that with my other Mons. So that is basically the Mega Gardevoir, very quick and simple. Next up, we have Snorlax. Snorlax is rocking the leftovers with the immunity ability, max HP, max defense for real, and a careful nature. Moves being Frustration, Earthquake, Ice Punch, and Toxic. I went immunity because this fully walls P2. P2 is a little bit of a problem if Komodo goes down, and I am expecting Komodo to go down pretty early in the matchup in order to proc Hawlucha, so I would have to find another way around P2, and this is it. I can tank any hit from P2 any day of the week, and I can just Toxic it back, and he can't Toxic me because I have immunity. And this also walls a special Necrozma, which definitely could come. I wouldn't be shocked if it didn't. And I can just tank any hit, Toxic that as well. And Frustration breaks a substitute on that at least. So a substitute in Necrozma isn't that scary. A sub on P2 would be, but then he loses coverage, like sub, recover, Ice Beam, T-Bolt. He's still not doing much to me. But that is mainly what Snorlax is here for. It also walls a Tapu Koko, unless it's Electrium Z. The only Tapu Koko that remotely threatens Snorlax is Electrium Z, so I definitely have to scout out for that with Gligar. But if I can pop that, then Snorlax is a switch in every day of the week. And since his ground type switch in is very, very limited, it could also force out the Hawlucha pretty early as well. I don't think it will, but it's definitely something that could happen. So that is Snorlax. And lastly, we have Zoroark. Zoroark is rocking the max special attack, 220 speed with a Timid Nature, 28 in HP, with the choice specs, moves being U-Turn, Dark Pulse, Sludge Bomb, and Grass Knot. This was the 6 mon I threw in the team. It was something I wanted something offensive, and even Necrozma could get a bit out of hand. I wasn't too worried about it, but just in case I decided to throw this on. Charizard X that isn't boosted just does not want to take a Dark Pulse whatsoever. Decidueye doesn't want to take anything with the Zoroark. Claydol, I don't see Claydol coming. Claydol doesn't want to take anything. P2 could be the switch in again, but I could just switch in Snorlax or Mega Gardevoir depending on the situation. So Zoroark was the best mon. I didn't really feel like any of my other offensive mons would be good enough. Electivire was a thought in my head. I think Electivire was 7th mon. I have it written down somewhere, but let me see if I can find it. But that is basically the team. No, Heatran was 7th mon, and Electivire was 8th mon, like an offensive Heatran. I almost went that route, but I think too many Pokemon on his side get ground coverage, so I just strayed away from that. But that is the team. If we can get rid of Hawlucha, we're good. If we can't, I think we just lose, but, you know, whatever. We're going to head over to the recording and watch the battle. Alright, so here we are in the battle. He did not bring the Mega Charizard X, but he did bring Tapu Lucha. By the way, big shoutouts to Odds for recording this. This quality is absolutely amazing. Citra's amazing. We are battling a Mountain Coronet because of it. So again, thank you to Odds, and thank you to Zombie for genning my team. We had some really big problems with this team, with the Gligar again, and I had a shiny Zoroark for no reason. But anyway, I'm leading with Kamo, expecting him to lead with Empoleon, as he does, expecting him to get up Rock. So I'm just going to set up a substitute and try and go for my Belly Drum already. He is smart enough to click Roar, however, and not allow me to get up a free sub. So, smart play. He draws me out into my Gardevoir. However, this is not my Gardevoir. This is my Zoroark. So, I'm just going to U-turn on out of here, and I can scout to see if he's got, like, leftovers or Rocky Helmet or whatever item. So, I don't take any Rocky Helmet chip, and I can just go into Snorlax, because Snorlax can tank any hit from this Empoleon if it wants to go for Flash Cannon, as it does reveal to have Flash Cannon. So this is going to do basically nothing to Snorlax. I see that. Getting rid of Gardevoir was probably important for him, so I could definitely see that being a thing. By the way, one, this battle is pretty long. I ain't gonna lie to you guys, it's a pretty long battle, as they mostly are. And two, Earthquake, the move Earthquake is clicked a lot in this battle. Keep track of how many times, because it's a lot. As here is the first one right here. We're gonna click Earthquake on this Empoleon as it stays in and clicks Stealth Rock. It's gonna do a nice chunk of damage to Empoleon, so that's really awesome. Getting Empoleon chipped is good because Empoleon does not get reliable recovery. It should, but it doesn't, so, you know, whatever. He's going to withdraw the Empoleon and go out into Hawlucha. Now, what, turn like 4? Hawlucha's already out in the field, and it is a problem. I clicked Earthquake, but, you know, whatever. Snorlax is going to get back up to full, so that's pretty cool, but I cannot stay in on this Hawlucha. I'm expecting a Swords Dance, but I just can't risk it. I need Snorlax for a lot in this battle, so I'm just going to Alomomola. Alomomola is mainly here just for this Hawlucha at this point, since a lot of his other mons, like Piloswine and Mega Charizard X, didn't come. So that's what I'm going to use it here for. Yeah, he sets up a Swords Dance, go figure. I don't really think he's going to click Substitute, so I'm just going to go for the Toxic. As he clicks Swords Dance again, I'm like, alright, bud, relax. So hopefully we can hit this Toxic, as I'm going to fire a Toxic, and we connect it. So that's good. This Hawlucha's now on a timer. He does not have a Cleric on his team, so that's great. Now I have to stall this out a bit, so that's going to be the hard part. He's at +4. Now, I go for Protect, expecting him to try and get some damage on me. So, yeah, I don't think he's going to try to go up to +6, because that'd just be insane at that point, as he does go for High Jump Kick, and that is big because now he takes 50% health, and this Hawlucha, this was the greatest turn of the battle. This Hawlucha is no longer a threat. Yes, it might knock out my Alomomola, and you'll see here, he goes for High Jump Kick, right? And I am actually going to live this on 9 HP. Now, on my calc, if Max Attack Adamant guarantees the Oko from that, so he definitely is not Max Attack Adamant. I don't know what investment he's in, but it's probably a roll in his favor and he missed it. So big apologies for that. I'm not sure how much it would have mattered. We both would have went down that turn because of Rocky Helmet and Toxic, but Hawlucha's gone. Now, this is great because Earthquake's free and Snorlax is basically free, and that is absolutely huge for the rest of this battle. I don't need a Alomomola for too much anymore, but because of Regenerator, I could use it as a sack later, since I do have a pretty good switch into Tapu Koko and Gligar, expecting him to click U-turn, but he actually clicks Calm Mind, and this really scared me. I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking at my team. If this is Calm Mind, T-Bolt, Electrium Z, HP Ice, D-Gleam, I think I lose the game because HP Ice knocks me out from full if it's at +1, but he does switch out. I'm like, phew, that's good. Here he's going to go into his Rubber Ducky, which is going to be the Porygon 2, probably one of the fattest mons ever. And here comes our second Earthquake of the battle. No, our third one technically, because the second one didn't hit Hawlucha. It is going to do absolutely nothing. I'm fully expecting an Ice Beam to come out on this Porygon 2. And now that Hawlucha is gone, Snorlax again is almost completely free. Just gotta be careful of Electrium Z, but outside of that, this thing is pretty free against the rest of his team. As he's gonna click Ice Beam, it's gonna do basically nothing. This Porygon 2 actually does have Analytic. I was expecting like Download or something like that, but it's Analytic, so you know, that's cool. He goes with Toxic. This is a big turn as well because I have immunity and it doesn't affect me, but I have my own Toxic. and it is going to connect with this P2. So now this Porygon 2 is on a timer. It is no longer a threat. It is going to die eventually, and this Snorlax can just sit in front of this Porygon 2 and slowly whittle it down until it dies, basically. So now here is a free turn for me. I can basically just spam Earthquake at this point because he doesn't have a switch in. And if he wants to switch into Necrozma, which, yeah, I won't do too much, as I do click it here, that is the 4th Earthquake of the game, I can just click Toxic on this thing. So you'll see here, it doesn't do much. This shows that this Necrozma is a bit more bulkier. I don't think it's max, but it's definitely maybe like max HP and a little bit of defense. But I'll say max HP for now. I don't know the full investment, to be honest. But the electricity is going to disappear, so we can see the awesome background again. I'm going to switch out because this Necrozma could be a physical set. And if it is a physical set, I would not want my Snorlax to be taking damage from it. But I'm fully expecting a special set. As here, I am going to go into my actual Gardevoir, which can trace the Prism Armor, not that it really matters. As he's going to fire off one of the coolest, actually the coolest animation in the game. This is my favorite move. It's Photon Geyser. That shows me that is a special Necrozma. That is special damage. Man, I love Photon Geyser. Photon Geyser and Draco Meteor are my 2 favorite moves, just to throw it out there. But here I can freely Mega Evolve and set up a sub to see what this thing wants to do. If it's a Calm Mind set, I can learn that way, and I can start setting up Calm Minds along with it. But we're going to test it out. Test the waters here. We have Substitute on it as well. I'm going to set up a Substitute, and this Necrozma is going to click Iron Head. That sucks. That sucked a lot. I wasn't expecting Iron Head on this thing, as it's here for Mega Gardevoir, so that's pretty smart. I have a tough decision to make since I don't want Snorlax coming in on Iron Head. I could either go into a Lomomola and then switch out again for regen, or I could just get some damage on this Necrozma. I decided I value a little bit of damage on this Necrozma for a bit later to scout out if it's got Morning Sun or Moonlight. So here I go for Hyper Voice as he's going to Iron Head me to death, and down goes Mega Gardevoir. That's a crit, doesn't really matter. Mega Gardevoir going 0 for 3 for the season, really unfortunate and underwhelming, but hopefully we can make it work in another battle, but it's just not working out. Here I go into the Zoroark, not the Snorlax, because it appears to be Snorlax, but the HP bar tells you that it's not. And hopefully I can catch him off guard with the Dark Pulse, but he is a smart enough player to realize that HP bar is at full. So he's going to go out into Tapu Koko and tank this Dark Pulse. In the Team Builder, if you guys skipped it, I am a Choice Spec Zoroark, so it is going to do still a reasonable amount of damage to this Tapu Koko. This is a pretty offensive Koko, maybe a little bit of bulk, but overall more offensive. As I'm going to switch out now into my Gligar, knowing this thing has Calm Mind. I'm still scared of the HP Ice, but you'll see here, he clicks Roost. Now that's big. He's got Calm Mind and Roost, and this guarantees that he cannot touch something on my team. He's going to have T-Bolt, D-Gleam, or HP Ice. 2 of those 3 moves. If he doesn't have HP Ice, can't touch this thing to an extent. If he doesn't have D-Gleam, Komodo can tank an HP Ice. And if he doesn't have T-Bolt, then Snorlax walls it for days. So I have to keep that in mind. I'm going to fire off another Earthquake. It's the 5th one of the battle, as it's not going to do much, but it's a nice chip on this Necrozma, as he's going to get a little bit back with lefties. Expecting a Morning Sun or a Moonlight, I'm just going to switch out. I could have went for the Toxic, expecting that, but I'm going to go into Snorlax. It's the safer thing. I really do need Gligar for this endgame for this Tapu Koko, as I'm going to take a little bit of Rocks damage, but it's not a big deal. And this Necrozma is going to reveal Morning Sun. So this thing has Photon Geyser, Iron Head, and Morning Sun. At this point, he doesn't have subs, so that's pretty good. I can fire off a free Toxic. If Porygon 2 wants to come in, that's fine. I can just stall it out. It's not that big of a deal. So something is going to be taking a Toxic here, and if it's going to be P2 again, it's not that bad. So here he's going to fire off Photon Geyser. We get to see the awesome animation again, as Snorlax is going to chew this for breakfast. And I'm going to fire off a Toxic. Hopefully I can hit, and I do land a Toxic. Now this Necrozma is also not a problem, so that's pretty cool. Necrozma is now on a timer. I can sit in front of this thing and P2 now. And even Snorlax, as long as it's not Snorlax, as long as Tapu Koko is not Electrium Z, I can sit in front of that as well. Or even Fairy Z could be a little bit scary, but Electrium Z is really the only scary one. The thing about Tapu Koko is Tapu Koko just doesn't really hit hard outside of electric moves. So it just doesn't scare me, really. I'm going to switch out. I'm going to Zoroark expecting another Photon Geyser because, yeah, it's Zoroark can tank the Photon Geyser because it's immune. Obviously, he knows it is Zoroark because I was immune to it, and if a real Gligar would have tanked a lot of damage from that Photon Geyser. A little bit of chip damage is always nice. I've been saying a lot. Apologize. Just long commentary. Here, I'm expecting him to go into Tapu Koko, and I'm going to U-turn out, but he does go into the Empoleon. That is fine with me. It's still the same situation. I'm going to U-turn, and this gets me a free switch into Komodo here, as I'm going to switch out into Komodo. Now, I have a few options to make here. I could try and set up a substitute. Hopefully he wouldn't roar, but I think I'm gonna just ensure myself the damage and go for Drain Punch, as he does reveal the Chople Berry, and that scared me. I was like, oh no, as fortunately it still knocks out the Empoleon from this range, so that's good. I get a lot of that health back from the rocks damage from earlier and the substitute damage, and that's pretty crucial for me, as Empoleon is going to go down, and slowly but absolutely surely I am whittling this team down. It does give him a free switch into Tapu Koko, but at this point I wasn't really scared. I just had to scout out to see what move he doesn't have. I'm pretty convinced he doesn't have HP Ice at this point, considering he switched out on a Gligar, even though he was +1/+1. But he could have been bluffing. You never know. As I'm using Gligar as a switch in the Scout, as he reveals the Dazzling Gleam, and at this point that just completely confirms that he is D-Gleam, T-Bolt, Calm Mind, Roost. As he is just going to set up a Calm Mind here. I do set up a Roost because of this situation. I know an Earthquake doesn't knock out Tapu Koko. And if I were to click Earthquake, it would have done a lot of damage, but then he could have knocked me out the following turn, and that would have been a little bit scary. But because of this Roost, I can tank any Dazzling Gleam. I think I can tank 2. I'm not completely sure. But here he goes for Dazzling Gleam. And you'll see, because of that 12 Spadef investment, it barely does under half, and that's big. As I can fire off a big meaty Earthquake, and it's going to do a load of damage to this Tapu Koko. It's well over a 2-shot. So I'm just going to fire off a Roost, expecting him to want to keep D-Gleaming, and I'm going to get to a reasonable amount of health, as Necrozma is going to come in here, and I'm just going to Roost as I just reiterated. So Gligar is at basically full health for later against this Tapu Koko if he wants to try and set up later as well, but now that is low on HP, it's going to have a harder time switching into my moves. So that's pretty cool. Necrozma's going to get a Leftovers and then take damage from Toxic Poisoning. I can easily go back into Snorlax, but instead of doing that, I want to save Snorlax's health a bit, so I'm going to decide to sack off the Alomomola just in case he wants to heal up or pull double. I could at least get some regen health back, but he does just click Photon Geyser, and Alomomola is going to go down, but that is quite fine. Alomomola did its job in this battle. I got rid of the Hawlucha, and I'm really happy with what it did this battle. But it's going to rack up a little bit more toxic damage on the Necrozma, so that is pretty cool. And here, I believe now I go into Snorlax, so it can tank some hits, as the electricity is going to disappear again. No, I go into Zoroark, my bad. I go into Zoroark this time, and I click Dark Pulse, that's what it is, because Zoroark, but Tapu Koko is at pretty low health, and I was really willing to risk the roll. I don't think he was going to risk the roll, that was it. As I'm just going to click Dark Pulse here, and it's going to do a decent chunk as the P2 does come out. And hindsight is 2020, I should have clicked Dark Pulse here again, because if he wanted to click Ice Beam and knock out my Zoroark, that's fine, because then P2 would have went down, and I don't mean my life a whole lot easier. But I go the safer route, go into Snorlax. Worst comes to worst, I'll get some lefties recovery back, and this P2 will be chipped down by toxic damage a bit. So yeah, we are whittling his team down, and at this point, it's free Earthquake, because his only Pokemon that are not toxic poisoned are weak to Earthquake, so that's pretty cool. I'm going to keep that in mind, as he is going to switch out the Porygon 2, and he is going to go into Necrozma. This is quite fine because, again, Earthquake, I can just get some nice damage on it, and it's not going to be doing, even though I won't be doing too much to it, he won't be doing anything back to me, as that is going to be the 7th Earthquake in the battle, I think. I hope I'm counting correctly. I'm going to count this in post-editing as well, but if I'm counting wrong, then that kind of sucks. But whatever. This Necrozma is going to take some toxic damage, and I can just freely sit here and have this thing kind of kill itself off. He does reveal his last move, which is Earth Power. That is a pretty smart move to have if I decided to bring Heatran, because I did almost bring Air Balloon Heatran, offensive Air Balloon Heatran for this Necrozma. I almost did that, but I decided against it, and I brought the Zoroark. And the Zoroark is proving to be pretty well, because it's a free Photon Geyser switch in, and it can tank an Earth Power or an Iron Head as well. So I'm going to keep that in mind. Here, he's probably just going to Morning Sun up, as he does. And, excuse me here. Okay, I thought I had the burp. As he's going to get some health back. It's inevitable. He's going to die eventually. As I'm going to start clicking Frustration. It's going to do a little bit more damage. I'm going to rotate between Frustration and Earthquake so I can make this process a little more smoother. And make sure that Tapu Koko or Lycanroc in the back isn't a free switch. And sorry, I just drank a whole Mountain Dew before this recording. But toxic damage is starting to rack up. At this point, he realizes that he's not going to win this war, so he's just going to fire off a Photon Geyser, get as much damage off as he possibly can, and I'm just going to fire off an Earthquake, and this plus the Toxic is finally going to knock out the Necrozma. So that was pretty long exchange, but in the end, we are able to come out on this Necrozma. So all he's got left is the Tapu Koko, the Porygon 2, and the Lycanroc. The Tapu Koko and the Lycanroc do not like Gligar, and Porygon 2 does not like Snorlax and my Komodo. So I'm going to keep that in mind. I have to be careful of my switches, as this is going to give him a switch in Tapu Koko. And at this point, I'm thinking, I really thought he would have brought out Lycanroc, so I'm going to scout out for this Z move. If it's Fairyum Z, that could be very scary, because if I go to Gligar and he Fairyum Zs, then I'm kind of dead. And then it becomes a serious problem, since Snorlax is semi-low. As here, I take some rocks damage, and I see the Z move pop, and I'm like, oh no. And that animation is Electrium Z, guys, and I am immune to this move every time, so that was a very good turn. I was able to dodge that Electrium Z, because Snorlax is still a good switch into Porygon 2. As here, I decided to just fire off another Earthquake, because it's pretty free. If Porygon 2 wants to come in, it's fine. I'll take some Chip plus Toxic damage, and since it has to hold Eviolite, it's not getting Lefty's recovery, so that's pretty cool. We are up to 8 now, Earthquakes. My marker is starting to die. So, expecting an Ice Beam this turn, I am going to go out into... do I go to Snorlax? No, I go into Zoroark. This is my Zoroark here. As Zoroark was a free sack, I forgot to mention that since Necrozma going down was better than Porygon 2, because that allowed Zoroark to be a free sack, unlike if Porygon 2 went down, Zoroark still would have had some usefulness in this battle. I'm just going to let Zoroark be sacked off. I don't want this thing having some free setup, as I can lock in a Sludge Bomb. He does get a crit of Deagleam, but it doesn't matter. And Zoroark is going to go down, but it did its job this battle as well, despite I don't think it even got a kill. But I think it did its job. And now it gives me a free switch into Gligar here, and I can fire off more Earthquakes. And because he did not recover up earlier, this Porygon 2 is going to be pretty low, as that is his only switch into this thing at this point. And even though Porygon 2 is really fat, that plus a Toxic and the fact that it's at half is shipping it down really fast. Now, Gligar is very important for the last 2 mons on his team, so obviously I'm not going to switch in here. I don't want to risk that whatsoever, so I am going to go into Snorlax, as I am fully expecting the Ice Beam. So, yeah, we switch out. We get to see the background again, even though the electric terrain keeps coming in and out of this battle. As I am going to take some rocks damage, and you're going to see here, Ice Beam, I go from 73 to 26. So, yeah, that's a lot of damage, and with the lefties, he can actually knock me out with this Ice Beam. So he's got a choice. He can either knock me out with Ice Beam and knock himself out, or recover up health, and I can continue to stall out this thing. He decides to recover up because he needs this thing for Gligar. As I'm going to Earthquake because it is the only move I need to click at this point, because any switching is going to take a load of damage from it at this point. As that is the 10th Earthquake of the battle, I believe. I hope I'm counting right. And if he wants to recover, I'll just get leftovers recovery each turn. This toxic damage is starting to rack up. Remember, I still have the Komodo in the back to Drain Punch this thing, as he is going to switch out, and he is finally going to bring out this entire battle. The narration has been like almost 18 minutes, and this Lycanroc is hitting the field for the first time. And this Earthquake is going to do an absolute chunk to this Lycanroc. And I'm going to get some lefties recovery back. I am max HP, max defense. If he is going to fire off a Stone Edge, it probably is going to kill, but at this point, I'm fine with it. As here, he's going to go for Iron Head, and I live the hit. Hopefully, I don't get flinched, and I don't. And Earthquake's going to come out and knock out this Lycanroc. This was probably to put it in range for Tapu Koko, which does make sense in my opinion, and to keep Porygon 2 around, because Lycanroc wasn't doing too much for him in the end here. But yeah, I'm going to get a little bit more lefties recovery, and here, I'm sure he's going to bring out Tapu Koko, as he does. I have no reason to keep Snorlax around at this point, because I can go into Gligar after this and fire off Earthquakes. And I know that Komodo can take an Ice Beam from Porygon 2 at the range of health it's at because of that Drain Punch earlier. As Snorlax is finally going to go down, Snorlax is easily the MVP for my team in this battle. Snorlax put so much work in. As now here I can go into Gligar and he can tank any Deagleam if he wants to go for it, as he does decide to go for Deagleam. I do Roost once, just in case he wanted to set up a Calm Mind or Roost himself. But here I'm going to Roost, and at this point I thought I might just choke the battle. I was really thinking I choked the battle here. So this time I click Earthquake, as he does switch into Porygon 2, and I'm like, oh crap. It's not really a big deal, but that requires me to come in again on Gligar a little bit later. As here, Earthquake is going to do basically borderline nothing here. And looking back at it, you'll see with the poison damage, Gligar is naturally faster than P2. I don't have much speed in this thing, but it's naturally faster. So I definitely could have easily clicked Earthquake right here if I was faster. I actually never figured out if I was faster, but, you know, whatever. If I was faster, I would have won the game right there. But here, I go into Komodo as he does fire off an Ice Beam. I know I can live this hit because of my investments, as I do live the hit. And I actually forgot I was Salac Berry, so now I'm faster than the Tapu Koko. As this Porygon 2 is so low on health, it barely lives on a sliver, so that does allow Komodo to pick up the kill here with the Drain Punch. And yeah, all he's down is the Tapu Koko. Now, my last move is Shadow Claw. He is at like 40%, and Shadow Claw does not kill Tapu Koko, I think, unless it's like an absolute max roll or something like that. I don't think it's even a roll, to be completely honest. But I am going to click this. I am faster because of my Salac Berry, and hopefully, it does have a high crit ratio, but I'm hoping just to get enough damage to knock it out. As here, I do click Shadow Claw. Hopefully, I can knock it out here. And Tapu Koko drops. It is a critical hit, and that is going to wrap up the game. We are going to win the game 2-0 against Diet Tight. GG to Die. We are going to move up to a 1-2 record. We are finally going to win a game in the IBA. And Komodo and Snorlax, especially Snorlax, put in such good work this game. I'm really happy with how they played. I do want to break down the last bit of that battle real quick because that crit did matter. It wasn't going to knock out the Tapu Koko. So here's the situations that would have went down. There was 3 things that could have happened. He clicked Roost on the turn I clicked Shadow Claw, right? So he would have been down up to about like 60% because Shadow Claw was going to knock him down really low. I would have switched into Gligar after. And now here's the thing. If he clicked Dazzling Gleam, if he's timid, he has a 10.5% chance to kill me, to KO me. If he's modest, he's got an 89% chance to KO me after Rocks. This is both after Rocks. And if he clicked Calm Mind, I can guarantee him live any hit. And he would have been in range for Earthquake because Tapu Koko would have been around 60-65%, and Gligar would have guaranteed a knockout with Earthquake from that range. So it depended on what his set was and what he would have clicked after that. Because I know damn well I guaranteed was going into Gligar after that if it didn't kill. So it just would have depended. But regardless, again, GG to Die. We're move up to 1-2. Next week we take on Mid Pokemaster, coach of the Kentucky Torcats. If I recall correctly, last week he beat someone 6-0 with a Clefable, so that's really scary. He's also got Kieran Black. But that's all for next week. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for everyone sticking around. This has been a very long battle. Maybe in the future of IBA battles, I'll try and speed up a little more or move up the speed because 20 minutes is just really long, especially when a lot of the battle is just toxic. So, yeah, toxic stalling, not like toxic. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you like Pokemon Draft League content, consider subscribing to the channel. That's all I got for you guys. I'm going to head out of here. Have a fantastic day, YouTube.